Some of the positions the Democrats take and the Republicans sounds like they're in competition, but they always have to do some of that to pander to their base. But ultimately, the basic principles and the philosophy are very, very similar. But in the last several weeks, as this date was coming closer where the national debt limit technically has to be raised, and I say it's irrelevant, they do what they want anyway, by just hiding it in what the Federal Reserve does. But one of the proposals has been, and it demonstrates this effort at bipartisanship, because everybody, they assume, almost everybody, votes for the NDAA, the military budget, because that's national defense, and nobody has the courage to vote against it. Besides, we have to protect our national interests and all that. So the Democrats said, well, good, everybody's going to vote for it. So what we're going to do, and what we want to do, is bury into that same bill the bill to raise the national debt limit. But that's a political thing, and all of a sudden you heard, okay, the Republicans weren't worried about the continuation and the default by spending more money on the military, but they were really against it because our base, the Republican base, wouldn't like this if they capitulate and raise the national debt limit. So they argued the case. So the Republicans were opposing it, I think for the wrong reason, for both reasons that were wrong. But anyway, they worked out a deal with the Democrats, and they had this vote. I guess it happened on Friday. 14 Republicans, voted with the Democrats. So the Republicans got things done. A little bit of political heat over it, but the heat really is going to come with the continuation of a policy that doesn't make any sense. That if you have the threat of default, because there is a threat of default, but it isn't the kind that they want you to believe. The default they claim, well, we can't write the checks and everybody's going to suffer. Well, that isn't it. It's the liquidation of debt and malinvestment that always must occur once the inflationary policies of the Federal Reserve continue to a point where it becomes inefficient. And that's where we are today. So something has to be done, and the market will deflate and default if the governments wouldn't do this deliberately, because it's done through devaluation of the currency. I think the closest thing you can come to when there was a precise announcement that we have a bankruptcy and we had to change our ways, and that would have been in 1971 when the promise made was, since World War II, that we would always defend the dollar with a reimbursement with gold if the people thought we were printing too much money. Well, that ended in 1979. We announced that, but they've been limping along and getting away with it, just printing the money for all these things. But right now, they're meeting a roadblock where they just can't continue this, and the default will continue. I think the default, the destruction of and the elimination of debt and the malinvestment is something that comes naturally in the marketplace when there's too much excess in the economy, too much printed money and too many artificial controls. And we are there. So it's going to happen. But this announcement that there was a positive move this weekend, that all of a sudden, well, we'll just default, and we got the Republicans to go along with this. We will just print more money, and we're not going to. Nobody's going to come up short. We'll worry about this technical thing of having a national debt limit later on, and so the Democrats get a chance to raise the national debt limit, and I think they can pass it by a majority vote. That was the deal they got. But I would think my first reaction was, let's wait and see just how much they try to raise that national debt in one fell swoop, because right now it's almost 30 trillion. So my guess is going to be bigger than most people anticipate, and it's going to be a negative economic event when that happens. The confusion is bipartisan because they don't think they should be spending so much money because the people don't like that, and yet all they do is work hard. How do you do it and try to fool the people? And that's what they're trying to do. But ultimately, I've argued the case that the two things when they're losing control is prices will go up and the people will rebel, and that's what the CPI was telling us today. Prices are going up and they're worried about that. And along with this, eventually you're going to see rising interest rates, and then you're going to see the unwind unwinding of trillions and trillions of dollars of debt that has been monetized over the last decade or longer. I mean, that's been the policy. So this was a big morning today, Chris, because all of a sudden they said record high price inflation, record high since the 70s, and that the year-over-year price inflation is almost 7%. And if you really measure it by how the economist John Williams measures this, it's well over 10%. So it's a lot of fudging that goes on. But at least this got the attentions of the marketplace, and this is a reflection of the fact that there's a lot of inflation. But the big argument going on for a couple of weeks now has been, how do you raise the national debt? If we don't raise the debt limit, everybody's panicking. And Yellen gets up there, and the Federal Reserve Board chairman, Republicans and Democrats, the government's going to get closed down. People won't get their Social Security check. It's all malarkey. That never has happened. It's not going to happen. They always take care of it. They can get a temporary raising, just for a technical reason, raise the nominal national debt, and they can always postpone it. But my biggest argument, and I'll spend more time on this during this program, is this whole thing is just all fake, because it's irrelevant, because the really, really big stuff is secret, because it's done by the Federal Reserve. They deal in monetizing trillions of dollars of what the Congress does, but they also deal with many, many trillions of dollars of bailing out the corporations, the banking system, the international financial community. And as long as the dollar holds up, that's why the dollar has been maintained by other people, because everybody's in bed with the United States in maintaining that as a reserve currency of the world. But that is starting to slip, another sign of the coming bankruptcy. But right now, there was excitement because there was a vote yesterday, and the Republicans and the Democrats came together, and they have a temporary agreement, and there's not going to be a default. So Social Security beneficiaries, just relax, your checks will be there. It will continue. But this is just temporary for a couple of months, and they can go ahead. Some Republicans are complaining that McConnell gave in too much to the Democrats. But when I look at the bigger picture, I have quite frequently said, it isn't a Republican versus Democratic problem. It's a bipartisan problem. It's a problem that results from a foreign policy of interventionism, an economic policy of interventionism, a personal invasion of our privacy under these COVID type of scaremongering, a loss of civil liberties. It's a bipartisan thing, so they have to pretend. Every once in a while, people will get a glimpse, some of the more solid conservatives, and they say, this McConnell, I don't know whether he's on our side or not. Well, the leadership of both parties have basically, on the big issues, are together, whether it's foreign policy, spending money, deficits, the whole works. They have to do it to keep the system going, because they have to abide by the rules of the lobbyists, who have to maintain control over both parties.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system, makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar, and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.